Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you're here, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 plant life essentials. So essentially, you go to the store, you pick out a little baby plant and you bring it home. Well, there's some things that you need to know, and I'm going to help you figure it out how to be a plant mom, plant parent, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to talk about one of the most important things that I think can be like misunderstood or interpreted a certain way. We're gonna talk about light. So you're gonna hear the term low light, medium light, bright indirect light. Essentially, that's just talking about what the plant requires. So there are tons of low light plants, but what does low light even mean? Low light means that the plant can withstand to live in lower light situations, and I'll break it down in a little bit, but that doesn't mean that you can stick it in your closet and she's gonna thrive, okay? So just keep that in mind. Like, these plants still require light, they just might not require a ton of light to stay alive. So if she's gonna be thriving, and is she gonna be putting out like tons of new growth for you? Probably not, okay? Medium light is just like, oof, the next level, okay? So they need a little bit more light than your low light plant. Whatever light you give these plants, essentially, they will stay alive, but a lot of them do a lot better when there's more bright light coming in. So that's where bright indirect light comes. So bright light is essentially close to the window, close to a good enough light source that they're going to thrive, okay? But also, you don't want them burning and whittling away in front of your window. So y'all know that scene in Toy Story where that bad kid, what's his name? Sid? I don't remember if that's his name. Anyways, he's like burning the toys with like the magnifying glass because the sun's coming in. That is essentially what can happen if you put your plants like directly in a window. They're gonna get toasted, they're gonna get crispy. So bright indirect light means, you know, like off to the side, or if you use a sheer curtain to kind of distill the light that's coming in, filter it so it's not super harsh. So now that we've talked about like what those different light levels mean, we're gonna talk about the way the light is coming into your home. So if you have any windows and you don't know what direction they're pointing, do me a favor, honey, and pull out your phone, and there's an app on there called the compass, and you're just gonna point it to that window, whatever window it is, okay? And it's gonna tell you what direction it's facing. And that's important because depending on the direction of the window depends what type of light you're getting. So we're gonna start off with north facing. North facing generally is like the lowest light receiving window. An east facing window is receiving morning light. Since the sun rises on that part, you're getting a good amount of hours, but the sun is not super hot yet. So east facing window, you get a good amount of light coming in. Yes, it's not the strongest, but the strongest is not necessarily like the best thing when it comes to plants. So an east facing window is great. South facing window tends to have the most sun, but also because it has a good amount of sun all day, it can get really hot. If you have it super close to a window, that's when the sunburns can happen. So you just want to be careful like where you're placing plants. Like, yes, we want them close so they can grow and thrive, but we also want to be considerate of like how thin their leaves are and which ones are more prone to getting sunburned and which ones are not. And a west facing window is essentially getting the afternoon light. So it is getting a good amount of hours of light, but it's also getting the strongest. The sun is already like, all right, time for me to go to sleep because I'm hot as hell, especially here in Texas. So I would just be careful like where you place your plants and how close you place them to a window. It really just depends on your household. Even like buildings blocking, trees blocking, there's different things, but please don't stress about it. Honestly, lighting is important, but unless you live in the pit of hell, you'll be fine, okay? Okay guys, the next thing we're gonna talk about is water. Water is important because, okay, the plant is receiving light, it needs water, it's thirsty. That's how it's basically staying alive. To begin, you're gonna hear different things, but if you're just starting off on your plant journey, please also don't stress about this. Like I said, there's nothing to stress about when it comes to plants. Like, you learn, you live. Some of your plants are gonna die on you without a doubt, okay? We all go through that. Unless you're like, I don't know, Mother Nature, plants are gonna die. And sometimes it's gonna be what you did. Sometimes it's gonna be because of how those plants already came, how they were treated at the nursery. There's just so many factors, but a lot of it is not even necessary to stress about. Majority of plants, 90% of plants are gonna be chill and fine with tap water, okay? They don't need any special water, tap water. Of course, do we wanna pour freezing cold water on them? No. Do we wanna pour hot as hell water on them? No. But like room temp water from your tap is fine. Your plants are gonna it's gonna be fine. They're gonna live it, they're gonna live their best life. They're gonna be good. There is some plants that require distilled water, and the most famous of those of all is the Calathea family. And those specific plants cannot process the chemical and mineral buildup that is in our tap water. Let's say you give a Calathea tap water. Their edges will start to crisp and brown because they don't know. They're like, what the hell you give me these chemicals for and these minerals, and I don't know what to do with them. I'm gonna crisp up on you and make me look a little sad and ugly. So number 3 is rainwater. Essentially the most natural form of water. You might look crazy, okay? But honey, put those buckets outside when it rains. Get all your little buckets, carry them out there, and save it and use it for your plants. Like, they would much prefer, I'm sure, the rainwater over regular tap water. My second tip in regards to watering would be to get a watering can. I know, like, it's kind of like, you're just pouring water on the plant, what's the big deal? I suggest a watering can because it's more controlled, and so you're holding the little plant, you're holding your little baby plant, and then you're just pouring directly over the soil. You're not splashing it all over the place. And that's kind of what happens, like, if you use a cup or like a larger thing to water your plants, it splashes, it creates the soil to come up. Like, I think just being more precise and careful on where you're putting the water, like, you want it to go directly into the soil. You don't want it splashing all over the place. You don't want like excess water on the leaves to create like a type of fungus or anything. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the third essential. So we talked about water, we talked about lighting. Those are essential to a plant's life and living. But with that also comes fertilizing. I use a fertilizer that I just put into my watering can, and I essentially do it every 2 weeks. So I water the bulk of my plants once a week. So every other week I will add fertilizer into that routine. And then in the winter, I pull that back to probably once a month. I will leave my watering can and my fertilizer linked down below, but feel free to use whatever you find is great for you and your routine and how you do things. Everybody does them different, honestly. Just make sure that you're giving them some form of extra nutrients throughout the year to keep them, growing and keep them happy. Also, a tip that I want to throw in with fertilizing is you want to water the plant a tad bit and get the soil a little bit moist and the roots before you go in with the fertilizing liquid that you put into your water, because it can potentially burn your roots. The next essential thing, which is soil. I'm just gonna make a suggestion based on the fact that I know plants can be overwhelming. So I'm not gonna go too deep into soil, but obviously plants need soil because that's what they live in. And first off, you do not have to repot your plants as soon as you get them from the nursery, okay? It's not essential, and it might even damage the plant. So my tip to you would be, okay, if you're going to get a plant and you want to put it in a super cute like pot or cover pot is what I call them, keep it in the nursery pot and just use it as a cover. So let me show you. Okay, I know like the nursery pot isn't hiding the best in this, but I bought this, well, this one's recent. I bought it like a month ago, but it's still in its nursery pot. And I just put it in the pot. That would be my suggestion. So kind of going along with that, like once you do reach the point where you need to repot or you desire to repot, obviously you're gonna need to purchase some soil. And some of my plants, I used a Miracle Grow indoor plant mix, okay, when I first started, because 1, I was new, 2, I wanted something easy, 3, you know, I just didn't know that different plants needed different soil amendments. It can be pretty overwhelming. So I just want to make this easy on you, and if that's what you want to do, then do it. You're not gonna like harm these plants. And yes, there are some special plants and whatever, but any type of indoor soil mixture, just pick it up. Don't pick up like your regular potting mixing soil, because it's just not the same. Like pick an indoor one if you can. But if you do want to dabble into making your own soil, I'm gonna tell you what I use in my soil mixture now. After about a year of having plants, now I make my own soil, like very recently, like maybe like a month ago. Okay, so now when I need to repot, I mix a potting soil with cocoa coir and perlite, orchid bark, orchid bark. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. And a little bit of worm castings, which is essentially worm poop. So I can leave everything linked down below what I use to create my soil, but also a great source is Plantarina. I've learned a lot of what I've learned plant life wise from her, and she has a couple videos on making your own soil mixture. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram or leave a comment down below. Like, I'd be more than happy to talk about soil mixtures. Okay, and lastly, something that goes along with soil is pots. I talked about how you can keep your plants that are fresh from the nursery in their nursery pot and just use a cover pot, essentially, like you're covering the nursery pot. And one of the reasons is that most nursery pots have holes at the bottom that allows water to fully drain. Drainage is really important, and you're probably gonna hear that term a lot in your plant life. So plants do not like to sit in soggy water, like water, soil, okay? They want more soil than they want water. So what drainage holes allow is for the water to flow out of the bottom instead of just staying stuck. So sometimes when you go to like TJ Maxx and Ross and you see all these beautiful pots, they tend to not have drainage holes at the bottom. So that's why I would use them as a cover pot. Keep my plant in its nursery pot that has holes and just, you know, stick it inside. Cover and cover. There's a tutorial on YouTube, I promise you, on how to drill holes into those cute pots that you want to use for your plants. Yeah, I just want you to keep that in mind, that holes in the bottom of pots are essential to your plant, and they're just gonna be so much happier, and you're not gonna have to like be as worried like, oh, is all the water drained? Is it not? Okay guys, we're just gonna keep it real simple. So you're gonna figure out the lighting situation in your home and where you desire to have these plants. Then you're gonna figure out, okay, is this plant cool with tap water, or do they need distilled water, or am I down to put these buckets outside and collect rainwater? 3, you're gonna purchase a fertilizer, especially now during the growing season, and you're gonna give your babies that extra food and love that they need. Once they need to be repotted, or if you want to repot them right away, you're gonna find the soil mixture that works for you, or you're gonna buy all these separate things to make your own. Always remember, your plants need pots with draining holes. So those are my 5 plant life essentials that you need. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything that I wasn't clear about, please comment down below or DM me on Instagram. I'm so glad that you joined me today. I really enjoyed talking about plants, if you haven't noticed. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.